All right. Sorry about that. I was a couple of minutes, a couple seconds late getting everything started because I couldn't get my earbuds, which I use to monitor my sound. Um, couldn't get them untangled. So that delayed me for a couple of seconds. So I hope that gave you some time to actually get on and get connected and make sure that you are ready to go. Hopefully, you have something that to keep you hydrated, maybe some snacks, and certainly a notepad and pen, or however it is that you take notes, in order to be able to capture the information that I'm going to be sharing today. So, for those of you that have not been on with me, let me introduce myself. My name is Rhonda M. Jordan, and what I do is on Wednesdays, I come through at 12 noon Eastern. And my goal through this live stream and through all of my live streams is to make sure that I teach you something that you can, first of all, immediately implement and that will allow you to advance your business. So, this is a great opportunity for those of you that are interested in creating digital products and courses and setting up your email lists and perhaps learning how to create content as well as also affiliate marketing. All those are topics that are considered to be my content pillars. And if you've been on any of my training, you know what I mean by content pillars. If not, I'll address that later in the training. But what that allows me to do is to make sure that I stay focused on things that I can teach to you and allow you to move your business forward. So if you're on with me today, feel free to drop into the comments and just tell me hello. Also, I would love to know where it is that you're watching from. I'm actually broadcasting from my home in the Atlanta area. So definitely want to say hello. All right, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being on. I know that it takes time to maneuver being in a live stream at the time that it is actually live. So I appreciate you being on. I always appreciate you being here. You're such a positive piece of energy, and also, as I said, as you are going through and I'm doing my training, feel free to ask questions if you need clarification or if there's just something that you need to know. And definitely, I love the fact. What part of Canada are you coming in from? So, as you know, I love to know where it is that people are coming in from, and then we're going to go ahead and get everything underway. So, definitely want to say hello to everybody that's watching today. I don't want to delay the topic anymore. Today, what we're going to be doing is talking about just simple strategies that saved me and I believe will save you from content burnout. And one of the things that I'm going to introduce you to is something that I refer to as a content bank. And I'm going to tell you, how to get it set up, give you some ideas of, ways that you can do it, because there's not just one specific way you can do it, and also give you some things that you can add to your all right, Calgary, wonderful. So hopefully the weather is not too cold there. So it's been a little chilly in Atlanta. Well, chilly for us. But definitely Calgary is wonderful. So. All right, so let's go ahead and, as I said, if you have any questions as we go through, drop those in. I would love to be able to answer those for you. All right, so let's get into why this particular topic is important. And it's because when you are creating content, and I don't care if you are brand new, if you've been doing this for a while, or you're a master at it, the bottom line is there has to be, or you really want to have some type of way of, first of all, capturing those ideas that you're going to have, and then a way that you can actually store it. Give me just one second to get some water. Okay. And a place where you can actually store your content ideas. And I think, but by far, this is one of the things that is going to help you out in terms of getting organized. It's probably one of the best ways that you can do it. So, what I'm going to be sharing today is I'm going to give you some content ideas, but more importantly, I want to focus in on the organizational part of this whole thing because I think that's where most people, once they get the content ideas down pat and they learn how to do it, I think this is where people start to, kind of get lost in the sauce, so to speak, because they have these great ideas. But what I find is that, and this was true for me until I forced myself to get, really organized, is we start writing down ideas. We'll think of something and we just start writing them down in various places. So, maybe you record something in the notes app of your phone, and other times you have, sticky notes on your desktop. I have definitely been guilty of doing that. Or you might have, maybe a notebook that you're trying to organize, or maybe you're using a Google Doc. Well, here's the thing, all of those things can work, maybe except for the sticky notes on your desktop, because or on your workspace, because those get lost and they're not that easy to organize. But we're going to talk about how you can kind of pull everything together. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is why it's important that you get all of this stuff in one place, because what you're going to find is that some of the ideas that you're going to come up with are just going to be pure gold. Others are going to just, after you think about them for a while, you're going to realize, yeah, that probably wasn't the right thing, or no, that's probably not going to work, or I'm not even interested in that anymore. And that's okay, because the good thing about it is at least you've considered it. Okay, so let's talk first. And I'm going to kind of flip the script on this in terms of the order that I had originally put it in. And if you've been on one of my live streams before, you know that I always have my notes in front of me. So when you see me looking down, I'm actually looking at a screen that has a Google Doc with my live stream outline laid out here. So the first thing I want to talk about is, what is a content bank? And what I call a content bank is just a place where you store things. Think about a regular bank account, okay? Then with a regular bank account, that's where you're storing your money. And periodically, you're going to be making deposits. And then you're also going to be making withdrawals. It's the same type of thing, except the difference is that this is with your content ideas. Now, one of the things that I want you to think about is, first and foremost, your content pillars. At the beginning of this live stream, I mentioned my content pillars because I want people to know, who are watching this training, what they can expect from me. What topics am I going to be covering when I'm doing some type of training? You should do the same thing. You should have content pillars, and those content pillars should be something that your ideal customer is going to be interested in, something that they can benefit from. Essentially, a content pillar is an area of focus where you are going to be regularly creating content about a specific topic. Now, it differs from a niche in that, these are things, if you will, that fall within that niche. So, for example, when I think about my ideal customer and my niche, I know for a fact that my whole thing is teaching women over 45 years of age how to create digital products, courses, and so forth, and essentially how to monetize their knowledge. That's my niche. Now, within that, I'm going to teach within various content pillars, such as creating digital products, creating content to attract an audience, setting up your email list, because that's important down the road when you're ready to start selling. Also, I want to make sure that my audience knows that they don't have to, but it definitely makes sense to incorporate affiliate marketing into your overall strategy, because then you've got income that can flow from a variety of different ways. I want you to do the same thing. I want you to first know your niche, which, if you haven't figured that out, work on that. Secondly, who is your ideal customer? And thirdly, what is it within your niche that you're going to be talking about? 3 to 5 topics that you're going to talk about regularly. Those are your content pillars. Now, why is it important? Because when you get ready to set up your content bank, I want you to further break your content bank down into your content pillars. And the reason for that is, as you get ideas, now what you're going to be able to do is to add that specific idea to the content pillar that it relates to. It's just a way of setting things up in a very organized fashion. If you do this, you're going to find that when it's time for you to actually create that piece of content, it's very easy for you to go to where it is you create it, look for the content pillar, look at all the ideas related to that content pillar, and then you're able to say, okay, that's the one I'm going to be working with. That's the one I'm going to create content on today. So let me give you some examples of ways that you can create your content bank. And what I'm going to suggest is you pick one of these, because if you're going to try to go back and forth between all of them, you're still not going to be organized, and your information is going to be all over the place. And it is important that you select one, because when you get an idea, I want you to be able to immediately go to your content bank and write it down, type it in, record it, however it is you're going to be jotting the information in. So the first thing, simple as can be, is a Google Doc. Now, with a Google Doc, what I would suggest you do is, and let me just see if based upon, let me just pull up a Google Doc. I might even be able to show you with the one that I'm on. Yeah, let me just flip screens here for just a second. Give me 1 second here to go over. Okay, so if you look at this, now these are my notes for today, okay? So what I want you to notice is over on the left side, as you are entering information in, it's going to create these sections, and that's really going to be based upon when you are selecting the type of text that you're entering. So if I select something that is identified with a header 2, it's going to create a tab over here. So what you would be able to do is very easily, I'm sorry, I'm switching back now. What you would be able to do is very easily use heading 2 for your content pillars. So that way the title, of course, would just be content bank, or your name and content bank. And then, as I mentioned, the heading 2s would then be your content pillars. Now, what you are able to do is to segment this list in such a way that each time you have an idea, you just put it into its appropriate section of your Google document. And what you are then able to do is further segment that. Let me just see if I can do this quick. Further segment that, I think you just make it a heading 3, and then it's going to give you sections under the various tabs that I just showed you. Let me just verify that that works. Give me 1 second here, because I want to show you. I just think that using, let's just see, I think I can do it here. What I'm going to do is just change something to a heading 3 and make sure that it works before I tell you that it works. This is a test. And I think it will work. If not, yeah, it does. Okay, so let me go back to my screen here so you can see what I just did. And I apologize if the sound's going in and out. I'm just turning away from my microphone, and that's what's causing that. So let me switch back over. Okay, so I'm going to take this out. And if you notice, here I am at the bottom. So this would be technically section 5. So if I hit return and then come up to the top, change this from normal text to apply heading 3, come in, paste in what I just did. If you will notice over here on the left, let me increase the screen size. Over here on the left, it now says this is a test. So that's a subsection, if you will, within this section 5. So that would be a very easy way for you to be able to use a Google Doc and further segment it with your content pillars and then your individual ideas. So your individual ideas could then be a they could then be a content idea, if you will. Now, another way would be just to there's a way that you can connect documents within Google, and it's not coming to me right now on how to do it. But the thing is, you could also link to documents. So if you decide that you want to have just a document for Content Pillar 1 and a separate document for Content Pillar 2, you could do that as well. But what it does is it allows you to have everything in one place. Now, why am I even saying Google Docs is a great way? Because I feel like when you are getting ideas, you want to be able to access those ideas at almost any point. The great thing about using Google Docs is you can actually set it up so that not only can you access it from your desktop, but you can also set it up in such a way that you are able to access it, let's say, from your phone. You can access it from your iPad or tablet. So that way you always have access to it. Why is that even important? Because if you're like me and most other people, you're going to get some ideas at the strangest times. Like, for example, one of the things that tends to happen is, let's say, for example, you get blocked and you just can't come up with anything. You might go take a walk, clear your head for a little bit, come back, and before you know it, the ideas are just flowing. Well, you need to be able to get those ideas down. And so, a great way to do that, again, is to use your Google Doc. It might happen while you're out on your walk. Pull out your phone, go into your Google Doc, and add it there. So don't discount the value of using a Google Doc as a way to record your ideas into a content bank. All right, now let's move on to the next one. Another way to do it is just a notebook or a journal. And I'm talking something simple, old school. Just take a document. This is just like one of those composition books that you can buy in any drugstore or office supply store, and you can use that. Now, because I'm big on making sure that you segment it by content pillar, what I would suggest you do is, get either some type of way, like dividers essentially, that you can put onto the pages. And so everything behind that first divider, for example, would be your first content pillar. Go, 10, 12 pages in, add another divider, and that's going to be content pillar 2, and so on and so forth. So just know that you can do it. Now, the challenge with a notebook, and I mean, if you're really tactile and you love writing things down, it's great. The problem is making sure you can always keep up with it. And also, if you have one of those great ideas, then what you have to do is to train yourself. If you're out and about somewhere, write it into your notes app on your phone. But then when you get home, you need to take that idea that you came up with and record it into your notebook. So that is definitely a way to do it. Now, I've used notebooks, but for me, what I found is when I was using a notebook, I just couldn't keep it together, meaning that, I wasn't disciplined enough to take the note that I would write down on a sticky note or in my phone and transfer it over into my actual notebook. So I'd have these ideas, they would be great ideas, and then I would completely forget. And then, I'd go back to my notebook at some point and try to find it. And because I never wrote it down, it wasn't in there. So that would be the only thing that I would say. Now, if you're really disciplined and you prefer writing, then by all means go with it. But as I said, just make sure that you segment it between your content pillars. Now, another way that you can do things is something called a Trello board. And I talked a little bit about Trello boards last week. Trello, it allows you to record information in a Kanban type style or format, which allows you to then have access to your content in whatever form or fashion you want. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Let me switch over here for a second and show you one of the things that I have used in the past. So give me a second to switch over. Okay, so here you see the a Trello board. Okay, I've used Trello in the past, but I moved to something different. And I'm going to share that with you as well. Now, if you notice up at the top here, each one of these lists, if you will, is a content pillar, and they're broken down according to my content pillars. And then underneath are cards. That's what Trello refers to them as. Now, within these, if I were to click on this, for example, then you could actually write your description in. You can attach pictures to it if you want. You can add dates to it. You can put checklist in and so forth. So it's very user friendly. Now, the thing about it is this allows you to very easily, as you have an idea, record it right into your Trello board. And then let's say, for example, that you decide that you don't want to go with that right now. I can come over here, and I'm sorry, there's one other thing. I actually have a legend. So if you look at these various topics, they all are going to fall. Like you see, all of these are orange, all of these are yellow. That relates to this being a digital product, for example, if it's yellow. Now, the other thing I like about this is I can just grab a card and I can move over, and maybe put it into the done category. So it allows you to very easily, track and really monitor everything. I'm sorry, I'm moving between my screens. Let me just get this so it's not so far out of the way here. So that is definitely one way that you can do it. And because you have the opportunity to move things around, to adjust things, to list something as done, to, make sure it falls within the right category, it's a great way to track things. And Trello has a free plan. And with that free plan, I forget how many boards you can have open at any given time. Open meaning that it's active. You can close the board out at any time and move between them as long as you stay within the number they allow. But once you exceed that number, you're going to need to upgrade to one of their paid plans. And I remember them being pretty inexpensive. I don't remember them being, super expensive as you would look at it for a business building tool. And then the other thing I can tell you is with them, they also are going to allow you to use like your calendar and so forth. But for me, there was something about it that it didn't have all the things in it that I needed. And so I ended up moving to another tool, which I'll share with you as well. All right, so let's see here. Um, all right. So you said there's only so much you can talk about with content repurposing and social media. What do you think about all things social media updates as part of my content pillars? That could definitely work for your audience. But what I would probably suggest doing is maybe picking a single platform that you would be giving updates on and sharing that. Because if you're going to try and really capture everything that's going on with a variety of different platforms, that could be challenging. Now, if you pick one platform and just really master that and share updates on that, then you could by all means do that. And that would probably be more beneficial to your audience, because what you're going to be talking about, or they're going to realize that, you talk primarily about Instagram, or you talk mostly about LinkedIn, or whichever platform it is that you choose. So, just kind of think of it that way. Also, yep, Google Sheets. Trello, Asana, ClickUp are also they're awesome. As a matter of fact, I moved to ClickUp simply because it had more of the features that I needed. And for those of you that may not know what ClickUp is actually more like a project management tool. And I'm going to show it to you in just a second. Now, what I did, because I had used Trello for probably a couple of years or so, and let me also share this with you regarding Trello, and it's going to be true for ClickUp as well, and Asana, and also Notion, which is, let's say that you create a Trello board and it just works really well for you. You can actually sell that as a template, and what people in your audience would be able to do is import that board right into their Trello platform, if you will. And what you're going to then do is allow them to copy the board into theirs, and then they can modify it in whatever fashion they want. So that could be a easy digital product for you. Just maybe throw in like a tutorial to show people who might not be familiar with Trello how to use some of its features. And it wouldn't have to be a long tutorial, maybe something 10 or 15 minutes to show people how to navigate and customize their Trello board, if you will. All right, now let me go back and talk about the next type of thing. And let me just see. Yep, Google Sheets, as you mentioned as well. I use Google Sheets as well. The only reason why I don't typically recommend Google Sheets to people as a way of tracking it is I find that a lot of people are not really familiar with Google Sheets, okay, and how to navigate it. Whereas I can teach pretty much anyone how to use Trello in a very short period of time. Now, me personally, for those of you that don't know, I am a former certified public accountant. Spreadsheets are my thing. So I navigate them very well. But as I said, when I'm teaching things, I try to find tools that I know for a fact someone can learn quickly and they wouldn't have any frustration in using Google Sheets. But here's the thing I'll say, if Google Sheets works for you, go for it. Okay. All right. Now, let me go back and talk more about ClickUp and why I decided to go that route. For me, one of the things that I live by is my Google Calendar. Okay, everything is on my Google Calendar. I always say if it's not on my Google Calendar, it doesn't exist for me. My husband and I share a Google Calendar. I have a personal Google Calendar. I have a business Google Calendar. Now, what ClickUp allows me to do is to create cards within ClickUp that I can then sync to my calendar. And so then things pop up for me. So I always know where I'm at and what I need to do. Now, that's just one of the reasons why. Another reason why I opted to go with ClickUp is it also allows me to have a ton of automations that can run, and automations meaning that when I complete something, it moves it to a certain place. I don't know, it just works for me. So I'm going to show you an example. And I was able to import my Trello boards right from Trello into ClickUp. So that was helpful for me as well. So I'm going to show you a little bit of my, let's go here. Let me show you a little bit of one of my ClickUp boards. Give me 1 second so I can share. Okay, so here I am showing you. This is one of my YouTube video strategy things. There's really nothing in here, that you couldn't see. But what this allows me to do is, I have mine set up where I have an actual template. I have a to-do list that's just things that I want to do. And then these are topics that as I thought of something, I popped it in. Now, once I get ready to move forward with a topic, and I'll show you, if I wanted to move forward with it, then I could move it to, let's go with this one. I'll open this up. And you see, I have my, the hook, the outcome, the points, and so forth. So I have all of this built in. But once I'm ready to go, I can click this and move this from, let's move this to be recorded. Okay. And it will automatically update. And then what will happen is, let's see here. Did I move it? Hold on. Wait, let's do this again. Maybe I didn't move it. Okay, let's move this to this is what is content marketing to be recorded. Okay, so it says that the status has changed. Give me 1 second here. Oh, I don't have my to be recorded. That's what it is. Let me move one to scripting. Let's see if I can do it that way. And some of this, I'm probably screwing up my automation. So I probably should stop while I'm ahead. Maybe I should do that. Okay, because I don't want to screw this up because it will throw things out. But essentially, what it's going to do is start moving things across. Oh, here they are. To be recorded. I do have my to be recorded. So when I change the status, it's in another column that's over here. So and then in terms of my automations, for example, one of the things that happens in the background for me is once I move or change the status, then what happens is it will add checklists in that I have pre-designed, if you will. And so it just starts adding the checklist of things that I need to do once it moves to a specific area. The other thing is because I have due dates that I can build into it, when I'm approaching the due date or when I hit the due date, it's alerting on my calendar. So, and of course I have Google Calendar on my phone as well. So it's just telling me things I need to do. Now, here's the thing, ClickUp does have a free version as well, but I will say this, it has a little bit of a learning curve. However, they do in fact have like ClickUp University, if you will. And so that's how I learned ClickUp and how I was able to work with it. Now, I have a link in the underneath this video in the description box if you'd like to try out ClickUp. Full disclosure, it is an affiliate link. And what I would suggest is if you think this could be beneficial for you, then set it up and figure out how you're going to. Oh, I should have showed you one other thing. Let's see here with this. I can show this in such a way, I don't want to switch over, but like if I want to see it in calendar view, I can see it in calendar view and so forth. So it has a lot of different ways that I can do it. For those of you that may not be familiar with me, I also use the 12-week year as a strategy based upon a book that I use to plan and hit goals. So I have a 12-week year dashboard built into my ClickUp thingy, whatever you call it. So it just works for me. And so the other thing I really like about it is I also can go to the ClickUp app on my phone. Now, if I remember correctly, I don't know. I think that was another reason why I chose to move away from Trello was I don't remember them having an app, and that was kind of a deal breaker for me because I do so much on my phone, and I'm probably not unlike most people, so it was helpful for me to be able to go to the ClickUp app on my phone and just go through the different tasks that I need to do, make adjustments, add things. So for me, when I am adding something to my content bank, I'm adding it right into the app itself. So whether that's on my desktop or on my phone. So that is another way that you can track it. And if you want to set yourself up, I always say like to future proof yourself, ClickUp is a great tool because if at any point in the future you decide you want to add on team members, then you can add them into your ClickUp account. And that way, if there are certain things that they need to do, so for example, if I was going to add an editor for my YouTube videos, once I get to the point where it's recorded, I could create an automation that would automatically send an alert to the editor, and the editor would know that that video is ready to go and for them to start working on it. And then I can have due dates for them. So it's a great way to future proof yourself. And as I said, from what I recall, I just don't remember Trello having enough of the functionality that I needed and wanted in place. So, all right, so I'm gonna get off of that, but that's the way I choose to have my ideas stored is in ClickUp. So, any questions as we go through anything? Feel free to drop those in as well. So, you just need to find one of these. And as I said, you want to make sure that you are using that particular tool. And here's the other thing, if you find that you start with something and it no longer meets your needs, by all means, feel free to change it. There's nothing saying that you have to continue with that. You just want to have a way of doing it. And as I mentioned, I started with Trello. And then what I was able to do was to import all of the boards I had created in Trello right into my ClickUp account. It was a very easy, like, click a few buttons, connect the accounts, and they popped right over. So I didn't lose anything in terms of doing that. Okay, all right. So I have talked about that as well. Now, the next thing that I want to do, so those are the ways that I would definitely suggest you create your content bank. Now, here's another thing. I want to start giving you ideas of what you should be putting into your content bank and how to keep it as up to date as possible on a regular basis. So, one of the things I would suggest you do is to make sure, especially if you are the face of your brand, if you will. Like, for example, with me, you're going to see my picture and my face on different places. So, one of the things I would suggest you do is get into the habit of taking pictures of yourself. Now, this goes into your content bank. And why is that important? Because there are going to be times when you're going to need a picture of yourself for, a piece of content that you're creating, a product that you're creating. Maybe if you're appearing on a podcast or, a YouTube channel podcast, if you will, someone asks for a picture of you and you want to have something ready to go. So, what I would suggest you do is, 3 to 5 pictures per week. Pick whatever number works for you, 3 pictures a week, and make sure you take those. You can do that with your cell phone. And then those pictures need to get deposited into your content bank. Now, if you're using something like Trello or your notebook or whatever, that's probably not going to work because they're not set up for that. Even with ClickUp, it would be challenging to do that. So, what I do is I have a separate folder on my images of myself, and it just says selfies, if I recall. That way, if there's something that I want to use, I now have a picture I can grab, and then, of course, through the magic of Canva, we can remove the background. So it does not matter where you take the picture. Just make sure you have good lighting, and even with Canva, you can adjust the picture itself. I just want you to get into the habit of taking pictures of yourself a few times a week that you can pop in. Now, those pictures also can be pictures of you and your family, you and your pet, you working at your desk, whatever it happens to be. But the point is, that is also what you should have in your content bank because you're going to need it at some point. Okay? All right. Now, another thing that I would suggest you do is to start creating, as part of your content bank, behind the scenes type content. So, one easy way to do this is to get a tripod and put your cell phone on it and set it to record. So while you're working, just let it run for, 30 seconds or so, 15 seconds, whatever it is. And you want to be able to capture movement so that you have that. Because when you start to do things like that, those short videos like that can be used as reels. They can be used on different platforms. And those are great if you are creating, let's say, a reel where you're teaching people something or you're getting a message across. Let's say, for example, you're saying something like, I can remember, the wording that would go over that picture of the video that's just running. I can remember when there was a time where, I didn't know what to do, where to start, whatever. So this can all be showing up on that actual reel. So again, this is the type of thing that because of the size of the file, if you will, and just the format that it's in, you might need to also put that into a photo gallery, if you will. But you can create an idea card or like if you're using Trello, you can actually create something and link it back to that specific video. Remember, I showed you you can do attachments. Well, you could just do an attachment that's just a screenshot of that video to remind yourself of what you have stored in your phone. So that way, when you get ready to create that piece of content, you'll know that you can go right back to it. Now, another thing that you can do is you can also link to it. So there's a way that you can link in both ClickUp as well as Trello. You can link to a specific thing because some people use, for example, Google to store their photos or their videos. So get the link and use that. So when you're ready to create that piece of content, you know how to find it. Because again, we don't want to be messing around when it's time to create something trying to figure out where it is. Okay. Now, so that was like short clips or short videos. Another thing, I'm sorry, is short video clips or B-roll. So let's say, for example, you go for a walk. Like right now, it is gorgeous here in Georgia, where the leaves are at peak at this point. They're beautiful. So you don't even have to necessarily be in there. Maybe you're just taking quick, 10, 15-second videos of, things that you really admire, things you love, things you can use because again, you can create reels for those short videos with that, movement in the background of the wind blowing through the trees and so forth. Or if you go on vacation, you can take pictures of the ocean, or you can take, there's just so many different ways. And then, as I said, store those in separate folders so that you have easy access to it, but then put a link into the chosen platform that you're going to use for your content bank so that you can link back to them and remember what you actually have. All right, another thing I love would be quotes and or affirmations. So if you have a quote, this is something that you can very easily create and then put into your card. So, when I say card, remember I'm talking about either on Trello or in ClickUp. ClickUp's going to call it a task. So you could put that in. And now you have those quotes that are listed in there. So each time you see something that really, strikes an accord with you and you want to use it in some form or fashion, then by all means do that. Because now you don't have to run the risk of forgetting about it. You have a place where it's stored and you can very easily go back to it. All right, now another thing would be screenshots of positive comments or testimonials. Just simply take a screenshot, create a task or a card within your chosen tool, whichever one you're going to use, and put it in there. This is also where I was saying you might want to really think about going digital with this. As I mentioned, you can also use Google Docs as well. But thinking about going digital because it would be easier to put that screenshot into something that's online versus if you're just using your composition notebook. How are you going to do it? You'd almost have to write it down or paste in sticky notes or something like that. So that would be another thing. Now, something else that's going to happen periodically for you is, you'll start thinking of something and all of a sudden you're like, that would be a great idea. And maybe you start bullet pointing, jotting down bullet points that would go with it. Well, once again, that's something that needs to go into your content bank under the appropriate pillar that you're going to have. If you have links to articles, YouTube videos, or podcasts that you think would be beneficial for sharing. So, for example, let's say you create a post or decide you're going to create a post that says something like, here's a podcast episode, and it doesn't even have to be yours. Here's a podcast episode that really helped me out. It helped me, master imposter syndrome or whatever the case is. So that is something as well. Just take a quick screenshot of it. And so now that's something else that goes into your content bank. Here's another thing that I definitely want you to incorporate, which would be seasonal or, trending ideas, more of the seasonal stuff. As we are approaching the holidays, maybe you're doing something with, for example, being thankful, and it has the colors that people normally would associate with fall. Well, that's definitely something you could put in. Or if you want to go with an autumn theme, or if you want to go with a Christmas thing, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or, whatever it is, all of those can go in there, or just the colors associated with falling snow. I mean, there's just so many different things. And sometimes because we don't have like a separate way to put all of this in there, you forget about it. And this is great content to be able to share at this time of the year. And it doesn't even have to apply just to this time of the year. Think about the other holidays. Think about the other things that people celebrate, that you can actually put in. All right? And then personal milestones and or lessons learned. So, for example, let's see here if I can show you something. Um as you are coming up on things, you definitely want to make sure that you are sharing your wins. Like I said, I'm a big believer, and you also need to share your failures as well, but definitely share your wins as well. So this was one of the things. Let's see here. See if I can show this to you. I'll bring it over here. Let's see if I can collapse this. There we go. So I was excited to be able to have this happen. Let's see here. So just recently, and when I say recently, I want to say Monday, Sunday or Monday, I don't know, whenever the fourth was when I reached 7,500 YouTube subscribers. So these are the types of things that you can actually share with people. So share your wins with people. Make sure that you take the time to do that. Any personal milestones, if you get any awards, if you get any certificates, if you get any whatever. Now, I'm not saying you have to share them all the time, but periodically you want to share that. And if you know something is coming up, and maybe you want to do a specific post, maybe it's not even done on the same day that the achievement happened, then just put it into your content bank so that you can start to formulate a post that would be associated with that. So that would be something else that I would recommend you do. Now, here's the thing. You want to make sure that you get consistent with this, because I feel that the more you start to add things to your content bank, the more creativity, it just sparks more interest. It sparks more, ideas to come to you. So I want you to really get into the habit of thinking about it, but I don't want it to become burdensome. Like, I don't want you to say, okay, I'm going to do one selfie every single day for 30 days. Well, that can be tough, but you could do 3 selfies this week because you can do them all at the same time. Or you can say, I'm going to record 3 15-second videos of me being outdoors on a walk and just nature and what I'm seeing that could then be used later. So just get yourself into the habit of doing that. Maybe you say, okay, today I'm going to look for 10 quotes that really strike me and really spoke to me, and I feel that will speak to my audience, and get those down. So just get into the habit of doing this, and by doing so, you're going to find a few things. One, you'll never run out of content ideas. Two, everything is ready, so when you are ready to create a piece of content, all you have to do is grab it from your bank and be able to pull it in. And then the other thing is, as I said, it's going to start sparking more ideas. Now, I'm a big, if you don't know it, I'm telling you now, I'm big on repurposing. So as you are creating some of this stuff, don't assume that once you create it, you're done with it. Make sure those ideas, you go back through them periodically and reshare them or adjust them in some way that you can, in fact, repurpose them into something else. So just think of how you can actually do this because, as I said, I want you to know that there's no reason for you to ever run out of content ideas. The reason why people, I think, run out of content ideas is they haven't prepped themselves. They haven't come up with their pillars. They haven't thought about, how, what they can actually share and how they can set things up. They haven't trained themselves to go to a content location, if you will, where everything is there. Because I'll tell you the other thing that can happen for you is sometimes when I'm looking at my ClickUp board, I will think of something or I'll see something written in there and it will immediately spark another idea. And all I have to do is create another task within ClickUp with that new idea. The same thing is going to happen to you as well. So it's like an idea can spark another idea and so forth. All right. Now, another thing I want to share with you is if you're using Canva, for example, and as you are creating pieces of content within Canva, so I tend to create things that I will share on my YouTube community page. And within that, I have a lot of, they're in picture format, .png format. So I have all of those in a separate folder as well. But what I'll often do is take that, screenshot it, and then create a task for that within ClickUp. So, because I'll think of another way that I want to reshare that or how I want to add something else to it. Same thing is going to happen for you. So just understand that having a content bank and knowing what to put in it is going to put you just light years ahead of most of the people that are part of your area, doing what you're doing because you're organized. You've got everything in one place. You've got your content pillars. Another thing that you can put into your bank is go through the questions, the questions of what. So maybe one of the tasks within your book or your idea is going to be what I learned when X, or how I was able to become more efficient, or where I received or where I got some invaluable training. So the who, what, where, why, how, those types of questions, and use those to spark additional ideas of things that you can put into your content bank as well. All right. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Like I said, I always say I am thankful for each and every one of my subscribers, whether they are YouTube subscribers as well as my email subscribers as well. All right. So, any questions on creating a content bank or what should go into it? If you have any questions, like I said, drop those in. But as I said, I can't stress to you enough the importance of starting with this content bank right away. This is definitely something you need to get started with because you can start loading ideas into it right away and immediately have content that you can start creating based upon those different ideas. Okay? So, let me just see if there's anything else that I wanted to cover. One other thing I didn't mention in terms of something you can put into your content bank would be swipe files. So, email headlines, titles that strike you, things that, maybe there's a post or, I'm sorry, an email message that you are on somebody's list and there was something about it that struck an idea for you. So, swipe files are great as well to incorporate into your idea bank. Let me just see if there's anything else. Let's see. I'm looking through, I have a list of like 25 I mentioned the behind the scenes. Oh, teasers. So if you have something that you're working on that's going to be coming later, you can actually, maybe you have the title or you've created something in Canva that has the title, but you don't want to reveal it quite yet. You can just have something like a banner that says coming soon. So that would be something else that you can do. Now, I didn't mention this, but I'm going to because this I should have put in as well, video or audio snippets. So if you're one of those people that if you just wrote out wording and put it into a card or a task in Trello or wherever it is you're going to store this, and then you go back to it and you're like, what was I thinking? Well, then maybe what you should do is start to record like a video, maybe a very short video with bullet points or something. So an audio format could be something else that you could use to make sure that you don't forget what those ideas happen to be about or where you were going. Because I've had times where I'll write something down and then I come back to it later and I'm like, what was I thinking? Where was I going with that? Or what did I want to convey? So if you have like an audio memo, then that is going to definitely kind of keep you on track in terms of what it is that you were thinking about in that particular moment. All right. So those are really some of the things that I wanted to share with you in terms of, making sure that you never have to worry about running out of content and you have it all in one place. So that is really my strategy for, avoiding burnout. It was having a place to store it, coming up with a way to be able to easily go to those ideas, and then training myself on a regular basis to add things in, such as pictures of myself, short videos, and so forth, that I could use that could then make all of those content ideas become, reality when it was time to do so. So definitely think about what you can actually add into your content bank. And, one of the other things I will tell you as well is it's okay to get inspiration from other people. Just don't copy their ideas word for word. So, just kind of think about some things that you can do. One of the things you might want to do is scroll through Instagram or scroll through, Facebook or, look for the reels or go to Threads if that's your chosen platform and look at the way that people are writing things out. Another thing I should have thrown in there was, for example, carousel posts, because oftentimes you will find that there's a carousel post that you could create that should also be listed in your content bank as well. And I've seen on Threads a lot where people are doing like posts that are all linked to one another. And they're not technically a carousel, but it's just one post that leads to the next, to the next, and to the next because it's all connected. So just think about ways that you can do that and have that place readily available for you in order to be able to have those ideas in one place and easily access. Now, another thing I would suggest you do is make sure that whatever tool you're using, that you have kind of a find or a search option included in it. Now, here's the reason why, because sometimes when you go and you write something in, and you create a card or whatever the case may be, it's easier to search for it versus trying to remember exactly what you called it. Because again, if we're coming back to something 3 months after we've added it in, we may have completely forgotten. But if you have phrases that you know for a fact that you use, that's going to be another easy way for you to easily pull in that particular piece of content. So definitely think about that as well. All right. So I have covered a lot. Hopefully you will go ahead and get your content bank written or in place. You will add those ideas to it and so forth. So as I mentioned, if you have any questions, by all means, drop those in. All right. Now, I always end my trainings with some type of mindset. And I want to today talk about, dealing with naysayers as well. Okay. Because One of the things that you're going to find, that most of us find, is at some point you're going to run across naysayers. You're going to tell them that you're working on this, whatever it is that you're working on, a digital product, a course, growing a YouTube channel, being an influencer, whatever it happens to be. And all of a sudden, without any, you haven't asked them for it, but people will begin to give you their opinions. Okay. Now, here's the thing that I'm going to say: you're not unique. That's going to happen pretty much to everybody, because oftentimes when we first get started in a business like this, we're just so excited about what it is that we're doing and where we plan to go with it. And then we share it with people, and they essentially just rain on our parade. Okay. They give you all the reasons why it will not work. They're going to tell you, I know somebody that tried something like that and that's not going to work. Or, why do you think that's going to work for you? Or you have a full time job. How do you possibly think you're going to have time to do it? I mean, they're going to give you all the reasons why something will not work for you. And oftentimes, with the people that are doing that, I would say a good percentage of the time, sometimes they just have our best interest. They think they have our best interest at heart. And so they're trying to protect us from, something going wrong, or us being disappointed, or us failing, when they don't realize that that's not really what they're doing for us. We don't perceive it that way. We just perceive it as them being negative. And oftentimes it's because they've never tried it, or perhaps they've thought about it and then they heard all the horrible stories of people that did not succeed. So they assume, there's no way that if those folks couldn't succeed, that you can't succeed, or they couldn't succeed. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Now, one, as I said, that's perfectly normal. That's going to happen. But one of the things you might have to start doing is really being selective with who you share that type of information to. Because somebody who's never done what we're attempting to do, they don't understand it. They have no idea that, we have made a decision that we want something better for our lives. We want something different in our lives, and we're willing to go through it. We know it's not going to be easy, but we know that we have the ability to learn, and we're going to weather the storm. And it might take us some time. And yeah, we might experience some failures along the way, but we are not failures. What we did just didn't work, so we have to try something different. Now, here's the other thing I'm going to tell you. Other people who have been very successful in what it is that you're going to do, you're looking to do, they're not likely to rain on your parade. They're just not, because most people are going to cheer you on. Now, I'm not going to tell you that there won't be people who are more successful than you that won't rain on your parade, because some people are just flat out jealous. They just are. So again, you're going to have to start to really evaluate who it is you're sharing information with. But I will tell you, the vast majority of people who are successful are going to encourage you. They're going to say, yes, it's not going to be easy, but you can do it if you stay in the game. They're going to give you, that push to keep going. They may recommend books to you. They might recommend, for example, tools that they've used. They might recommend conferences that they've attended, or whatever it is. Those are the types of individuals that you've got to have in your ear on a regular basis, because there's two things that are going to happen to you. One, as I mentioned already, the naysayers. The second thing is your inner critic. Your inner critic is going to show up on a regular basis. And sometimes the things that we say to ourselves are worse than what we hear from the naysayers. So you've got to first and foremost learn to silence the naysayers. And number two, you have to make sure that you are selective with who you share your information with. And I will also tell you this. Somebody who has never done what I'm attempting to do, or what you're attempting to do, really does not have the experience, or, I mean, they can say what they want to say, but they really are not qualified, I'll say it that way, to tell you what you can or cannot do. It would be like, for example, if you had a health problem and you went to an attorney to help you solve it. Well, an attorney can't help you solve that health problem. You should see a doctor. Go to somebody who's qualified to do it. And so when we're new, sometimes we don't know how to one of my friends always said, you tell some and you keep some people don't know how to do it. I can promise you, I don't. There are people that really don't even know what I do, and it's because I don't want to hear from them in terms of what their opinion is. And I know they're not qualified to actually give me advice. So why in the world would I go through it? Yeah, they can read about it online and they can see the accomplishments and so forth. And that's the thing that I want you to really get into the habit of doing. Now, here's the thing. Some of the people are going to hurt your feelings when they say things. And that's where I'm going to suggest that you start surrounding yourself with people that are going, the same place that you're going, people that are, moving forward. And so that's why I think it's so important to be part of communities. I encourage you to come and jump on this live on a regular basis. I'm actually going to put together a community so that all of those of you that are interested in being part of a community where you're learning the different topics that I teach can all be in one place and you can encourage one another. I'll be teaching, I'll be doing question and answers. We'll do some co-working sessions. We'll do all of those types of things. I'll have some courses built into it and so forth. So I want you to understand the importance of being part of communities. I can tell you, I am part of several communities and they have helped me overall, which is why when things go wrong, it doesn't just set me back, because I can always go back to that community and ask questions. Or I know that other people within that community have had success. And so I know that if I just keep doing the right things, the same thing's going to happen for me. So just make sure that you are aligning yourself with communities of people and individuals that are going in the right direction. Another thing is I want you to make sure that you're constantly surrounding yourself with good, positive messages in the form of books. I want you to make sure you're listening to things. You can go to YouTube and put in a bunch of personal development. Just search for personal development, and lots of different things are going to pop up. You've got to get into the habit of training yourself to listen to that. That's also how you're going to silence your inner critic. So just understand that if you're experiencing that and somebody has said something to you, it's probably simply because they don't understand what you're trying to do and they're trying to protect you. Okay. So, yeah, I am definitely looking forward to the community because, like I said, I know for a fact that I have so much stuff that I want to share, and it's easier for me to share it in a community. Here, I can talk about things, but in the community, I can show you how to do it, and it'll be much easier to make that happen. All right. So I appreciate you all being on with me today. If this information has been helpful, I'd appreciate some thumbs up. Let me know if there's a topic that you'd like for me to cover. This, remember, is something I do on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm just, interested in making sure that the information you need in order to start growing and building your business and creating that stream of income that can, kind of cushion you from some of the economic things that we can deal with, the financial things, because I'm the first one to tell you that, having a single source of income is not the way to go. You need to have a second, third, fourth, fifth piece of income or source of income, definitely a plan B, because you never know when that plan A could go away. And when I say plan A, I'm talking typically about your 9 to 5 job. Now, I'm not saying that, you're looking to leave it, but sometimes our jobs choose to leave us, if that makes sense to you. So I appreciate you being on here today. I will be on next week, Wednesday. Feel free to share this with anybody somebody that you think could benefit from it. And I will see you next week, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. I'll be right here in this chair. So take care. Have an awesome day and an even better week. All right. See you soon.